Welcome to Jesus Listens Stories of Prayer. I'm Susie Mcentire Eaton, and today I just am so excited about learning more about a lady who is iconic in the TV world. She was on Freaky Friday, she was on Family Feud, and most of you will remember her by being the niece of the Ewings on Dallas. But a lot of us, like me, have never heard her personal stories of struggle and triumph. So stay tuned as we listen to the wonderful story of Charlene Tilton. First of all, I just want to welcome you to the podcast and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today. I know you're very busy. I know you got a lot going on, but I just want to tell you, you look awesome.
Oh, thank you. Are you kidding? Thank you for having me. That's so kind of you.
Well, I think I've just got some questions because I know you know that Reba Mcentire is my sister, and I'm very familiar with Hollywood and a little bit with her and how hard it is to get into Hollywood, and I'm sure it wasn't any different than when you were trying to crack into the business. Would you just give us a little bit of your background of how you grew up?
Well, I was raised in Hollywood, but from the age of 5 to right before my 8th birthday, I was in foster homes because my mother was institutionalized because she was mentally ill.
Right.
And so for that time, those 3 years, I was sort of passed around from foster home to foster home. But then I was reunited with her right before, like the week before my 8th birthday. And, God bless her. She tried. She really,
Yeah.
she tried. She had many, many issues, but she tried. But when I grew up there, we lived in Hollywood, and right down the street was Paramount Studios. And then there was Desilu Studio Screen Gem and the Hollywood sign. And
Right.
to me, it was magic where I could watch the Brady Bunch and you had this blended family. And I'm like, their house is clean. My mother was a hoarder. Our house was disgusting. She was mentally ill. And there was this family that was nice and loved each other and normal.
So you knew right off that Hollywood, I mean, what they portrayed was not real life to you at all.
No, but I thought, oh, things are certainly better when you are in that TV.
I mean, you were right there. How did you get, what was your first thing that you did?
I was in a play at Hollywood High School. I played 8 different characters, including a mime. They were small parts.
Yeah.
And the agent was there and came up to me and asked me if I wanted representation. She thought, you have something, you're really talented, you want an agent? And I said, of course. And I needed to get 8 by 10 pictures because back in the day, that's how you submitted yourself. I didn't have the money for that. So I took my school picture and had it blown up, and she used that, and she started submitting me and got my first job, which was a Walt Disney movie, Freaky Friday, and I played Jodie Foster's friend.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was kind of how I got started, and I was fortunate enough to go on auditions and book parts, and then the role of Dallas came along. And God really had his hand on my life. I've got to tell you, I've known that my whole life, and I also had a lot of, and I will credit my castmates in Dallas, all of them. We really became a family, and because I was 17 when the show started, we worked hard. There were long hours and a lot of responsibility, and I had to be professional, and I wanted to be, because this is what I wanted to do forever. I wanted to work. I never thought about the fame aspect. I loved the acting and the working process of it. And but they protected me. And back in the 80s, there was a lot of nonsense and shenanigans and things that went on back then. And being with them, they protected me from it. We didn't really I wasn't really that exposed. I was working so hard, and I was very fortunate that I was surrounded by this group of people that had the best work ethic. Their work ethic was stellar,
Right.
and I
Right.
learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of insulated and surrounded by people that demanded a lot from me, but took care of me too.
I mean, that's a hard age for girls. What kept you from going down the deep end? I mean, you probably you're saying that you didn't have that much structure at home, a lot of, behind the scene help at home. What kept you from going down the wrong path?
Well, at that time, my mom had been reinstitutionalized again. And then so instead of going back into foster care, I lived with a friend. I lived at a friend at high school. The parents let me live there for a while, and I sort
Mm-hmm.
of moved around. And then I eventually got my own apartment. The only reason I was able to get my own apartment was because the manager of the apartment building happened to be the sweetest, most lovely lady.
Somebody that is there to just kind of mentor us as we're young girls growing up. It was truly a God thing for you. You've been through some hardships in your life, and I guess most recently is the loss of your fiance.
It was so shocking, and I was devastated, and my mind was spinning, and I kind of just collapsed and was laying on my couch and drinking and having cigarettes and just kind of lying there. And I would leave to walk the dogs, and that was it. And I had these dear friends of mine. I remember coming out of my house with the dogs and walking the dogs, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It's got food all over it. My hair hasn't been combed. I haven't showered. I got no makeup, and I'm wearing mismatched clothes. And I got the dogs, and my friend Tony, he said, "How are you doing?" And no, he goes, "How are you?" And I go, "Oh my God, Chetty and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like so depressed." And he goes, "You look a mess." I go, "I am a mess." He goes, "Well, you don't have to show everybody."
Sometimes we just need someone to just shake us, just slap us up, side of the head, and say, wake up. And sometimes we're so afraid to do that, and yet it can save people's lives.
Well, I know enough. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but I do know enough that if you are in depression or anxious or in grief or feeling sorry for yourself, what do? You go help somebody else, because that's the best thing to, that's psychology 101, but you got to go help somebody else. So my friend had been working at this organization called Actors for Autism, and he had asked me several times, would you come down and teach the kids and work with the kids? And I'd never known anybody on the autism spectrum, and so I didn't feel like I was qualified. And I called him up. First call I made, I said, "Yep, David, why don't I come down there?"
Yeah.
He said, "All right, come down tomorrow." So I did. Took a shower, combed my hair, brushed my teeth, went down there.
Changed your shirt?
Changed my shirt. And I have to tell you, it was the greatest thing. I met this group of people that were on the autism spectrum, but because I didn't know anybody on the autism spectrum, in my lesson plan, I just kind of saw them. So there was a girl, her name was Oxa. I said, "Oxa, you've got a great voice. Why don't you be the narrator? You do the voiceover." And this kid, Dominic, kept wanting to boss everybody around and tell everybody, I said, "Dominic, why don't you help me direct this scene? You'd be great." And then another one, was able to do this, and I just saw their talents. And before I know it, we were putting on shows, we were doing scenes, and I ended up spending like 8 years with them, and working every week I was so grateful to them because I found a new
Yes.
life, and it was amazing.
I just am in wonder of and respect for you of what God has done in your life and what a sweet person that you are.
Thank
So
you. I'm
thank you.
telling you, it is exactly that, what God has done
Yes.
in my life. It is really that. And I have to tell you, it's just a blessing to be able to start every day in the Word of God and
Yeah.
in prayer. And I have to wake up early to do it. Sometimes I have to fight to find that peace, or
Yes.
but to be in the presence of God and not let it, because in the presence of God is fullness of joy and His perfect peace.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, oh
Yeah.
boy, can things so easily
That's
distract
right.
us.
That's right.
So
That's exactly right. Well, thank you for being on the show today. We really, really appreciate you so much.
thank you. Ditto. Mwah.
God bless you.
sweetheart. All right. Thank you.
We're so glad you joined us today on Jesus Listens Stories of Prayer. We'll have more stories for you very soon. But until then, please remember that Jesus cares, He listens, and He's just a prayer away.